Hi, this is Professor Charlie Evans, and we'll talk a little bit about the Gilgamesh paper that's due in your course. Gilgamesh paper is the first major writing assignment in the course. You've already had a little bit of writing with your introduction and your first paragraph assignment. This time you're going to be writing a paper. Please don't forget everything that you've learned in your English classes. You're writing a paper. That should be a multi-paragraph paper. That should have an introduction paragraph. It should have a conclusion paragraph. And it should have thesis or content paragraphs within the paper. It's really important that you follow that organized structure in writing about the Gilgamesh epic. Also, it's absolutely crucial in your introduction that you explain exactly what points you're going to cover in your paper. For myself or one of the other instructors to be able to understand your reasoning, your rationale, your analysis, we have to know what those thesis points are of your reasoning, your rationale, your analysis, how you're going to approach the paper. You've got to indicate that in your introduction. And so look at it. I'm not an English prof, but it's a history class, and you're writing, your means of communication is writing. If your form, structure, content, style is all poorly done, I'm not going to be able to understand what you're trying to write about in the paper. Now, so what are you trying to write about in the paper? You're trying to write about the characteristics of kingship in the age that Gilgamesh was a king. And we know that Gilgamesh was a historic figure. He did actually rule as king at some point. So the characteristics of his reign. We're not introduced, we're not really interested in anything that is not going to help answer that question. And so, for example, look at one of the really easy things to talk about, the characteristics of kingship in the reign of Gilgamesh. A king had to be the chief defender of the city. He had to be the main warrior of the city-state. He had to defend the city. That's a great characteristic for you to be writing about in your paper. It's the only one I'm going to talk about because there's others that you've got to discover yourself from reading the Gilgamesh epic. We're not really interested in who he loved or who he didn't love because that's not really a characteristic of kingship. I mean, we're looking at kingship, not personal relationships or whatever. And so focus in your paper. It's a short paper. There's not a lot of time that you can spend writing about all kinds of things. Stay focused. It's one page. It's not a two-page paper. Anything else I can say about the paper? It's a pretty clear paper. If you have questions about the paper, ask your instructor. Send a draft in. Have some pre-submission feedback. It really, really does help with your course. Make sure you have quoted evidence in the paper to support whatever points you're trying to make. It's a great epic. This is a great opportunity for you to interpret that epic. You're a historian. You're working with historical evidence. Write a great paper. Thanks.